Back with the WMAY morning news feed. Let's talk now about unemployment. In just a matter of minutes here, the U.S. Department of Labor is going to be releasing the latest weekly unemployment figures. We've been tracking this really ever since the pandemic started, because when the governor ordered the stay-at-home orders and said some businesses could operate, others couldn't, there were a lot of layoffs, and we saw that peak. That spike, it was like 200,000 plus in 1 week filing for unemployment. But now we still have about 390,000 people that are getting benefits. Are all those benefits legitimate? How much fraud's been paid out? Something that my next guest is hoping to find out. State Senator Chapin Rose here on the WMAY morning news feed. Senator, thanks for taking time. You guys had the Legislative Audit Commission yesterday, and you guys advanced a measure to delve even deeper than has already been delved into. What's the latest?
Yeah, so your listeners will, I'm sure, know that previously we audited the Pandemic Unemployment Program, PUA, and we found out that in the first 7 weeks, the auditors found that at least $155 million in fraudulent expenditures. They found dead people who received checks. They were several hundred people over the age of 90 who were getting checks, which I hope I'm alive at 90, and I really hope I'm working at 90. But I don't know too many 90-year-olds that are working. I can tell you that much. It's just a disaster. In fact, the auditors found that there were entire programmatic files that didn't exist that were necessary to even do an audit. So when they discovered that just in those first 7 weeks, we said, the audit came out. Actually, I was the one who brought the resolution. I'm like, this is ridiculous. How much is going on here? How thoroughly screwed up is the Illinois Department of Employment Security, is Pritzker's, department. Probably everyone listening knows someone or has heard a relative who, was fraudulently filed for unemployment. And I don't mean knowingly, but I mean someone filed it in their name, and then they got a card in the mail or a notice in the mail or something later that says, hey, you've been laid off. I mean, I got laid off from my own law firm, and, it was the secretary, our business manager, comes down and says, hey, did you apply for unemployment? I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah, there were other lawmakers and members of Congress that were getting hit with fraudulent claims, and it seemed to be pretty rampant. So what are you hoping to find out with more in-depth investigation?
Yeah, so, Greg, I think, first of all, we got to get our arms around what has really happened, what the dollar amounts really are. And quite frankly, we just need to keep the heat on the Pritzker administration. I mean, this is their complete and utter failure. This lands at their feet. I think that all of us, Republicans, Democrats, the governor, in the early days of the pandemic, understood that we were all sucking water out of a fire hose. But, they were given extra time to get PUA up and running because we understood that. We knew this wasn't easy. It was a brand new federal enactment. But it was a disaster.
Weren't they also given tens of millions of dollars by the federal government to kind of help assist in developing these systems? But I do have to ask, your response to the governor saying time and again that it was the federal government's fault that there's so much fraud with this program. What's your response to that, State Senator Chapin Rose?
Yeah, first of all, the governor himself ignored many of the federal suggested security protections, and actually reversed many security protections that Governor Rauner had put in place to prevent this exact same thing from happening. And so now this lays clearly at his doorstep. Like everything, he obfuscates and denies. But the facts are the facts, and the facts are in the first 7 weeks, the auditors found at least $155 million in fraudulent expenditures that were handed out under his administration. So I suspect it's going to get worse. As you know, Greg, because you cover this in the Capitol, that the Unemployment Trust Fund is in a serious state of upside down. And, how much of that is fraud? It's a huge question. How much of this should Pritzker, take full responsibility for? And, he doesn't get off the hook by blaming the federal government when he reversed the security measures in place from the Rauner administration.
Senator Chapin Rose with us on the WMAY morning news feed. I am right up against a break, but I've got a couple of other issues I want to tackle with you. Number one, energy legislation. We saw it advance in the Senate. It's unclear when it's going to pop in the House, but where do you stand on this?
Oh, I voted it. Well, if there was a button with the, no button with the cuss word in front of it, that's where I stand. I mean, I was an H no. Listen, energy legislation is enormously complex. There's two different grid systems. Downstate Illinois is on the MISO system. But when you are going to be putting people out of work, only to turn around and re-import power from out-of-state power plants that's still carbon, also Governor Pritzker and his team can go run around and issue a press release and tell everybody they got rid of carbon. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. And, they may be able to get away with that in Chicago. They can't get away with that down here. There's also blatantly unconstitutional provisions of eminent domain where they're allowing private for-profit companies to take your property to put up big power lines over your house for their for-profit ventures. I mean, this is the stuff that happens in banana republics, and it shouldn't happen in the state of Illinois or the United States of America.
Well, another issue, Senator, and again, thanks for taking time with us this morning on WMAY. What's the latest with the constituent of yours that's also on a school board? We talked with Representative Butler about this last week, and he said that he wants to see hearings into this. Is there any possibility, and even the governor has said this last week when asked about why not call the legislature back for a special session, he said Republicans can hold their own hearings. Will you request hearings and have IDFPR come and testify? Do you have any power to compel them to testify?
First of all, as a super minority in Springfield, we wouldn't have power to compel them to come testify. But IDFPR did appear in the Audit Commission yesterday, and I brought this very topic up with them. Here's the thing that worries me at this point. And first of all, I appreciate the fact that the director of IDFPR is taking responsibility and apologized to Dr. Hendricks. I do appreciate that. The governor, still to this day, has not apologized to Dr. Hendricks, nor has he. The only acknowledgement at all actually wasn't even an acknowledgement. The only thing that's come out of his office about this was a denial that it was even happening in the first place. Well, then why is your director apologizing for it happening, Governor? But never mind that. Look, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else. And it still isn't over for Dr. Hendricks because he has to go before this tribunal and have it, they have to act to dismiss it. So this still is not, the staff can say they're sorry and the staff can say they're going to recommend dismissal, but Dr. Hendricks is still incurring legal fees to go before this panel, to ultimately get this thing dismissed. And, I think we all just assume they're going to do it, but they've got full authority to do whatever they want to do, so they don't have to dismiss it. This has just been wrong all around, and the fact the governor refuses to accept any responsibility and apologize himself is abhorrent. Quite frankly, maybe Governor Big Bucks there could pay Dr. Hendricks' legal fees for putting him through this, but I don't think that's going to happen either. So bottom line is this happening to anybody else? And I think that's the question that needs to be answered at this point. And again, it just keep the heat on. So I don't know how a super minority can compel anybody to show up, but if the governor suggests we can have hearings, I'll get a hold of Representative Butler today. We'll set up a couple of us, invite the IDFPR to come on down. That's what the governor suggested. Let's take them up on it.
State Senator Chapin Rose, greatly appreciate you taking the time this morning, and we'll connect again soon on these and other issues, all right?
No problem. Have a great day.
You too. It is the WMAY morning news feed, now 7:33. Kevin Hart standing by in the newsroom.
Dollars for the new sports complex from the WMAY.